Welcome to the Warp. I'm Jack Rita. In this video, I'm going to be talking about cosmic encounter aliens that use cosmic tokens, sometimes just referred to as tokens, but those are cosmic tokens. The base game comes with a pile of them, and you can get several more in a couple of the expansions as well, in case you're going to run out, although I've never seen it happen. Maybe I need to play games where everybody's got cosmic tokens, so I'll be doing that. So let's take a look at these aliens and the different ways that they employ the cosmic tokens. Fantasy Flight likes to give you tokens to keep track of things. That's by and large what they're used for, to help you remember stuff. In the olden days, if you were playing an alien like Warrior, you were just keeping hash marks to keep track of that. Fantasy Flight hates that, so this is how they're going to do it. So let's start with the base game. We'll go through all the expansions, looking at the aliens that do use cosmic tokens. So our first one is Tic-Toc. Tic-Toc was it's an alt-win alien that was first published in the Fantasy Flight edition, so it had never existed before. You're going to start the game by putting 10 tokens on the sheet. Each time any player wins an encounter as the defense, or a successful deal is made between any two players, you use this power to discard a token from the sheet. And if there are no more tokens on the sheet, Tic-Toc wins the game. So this is an alien that it's a really interesting effect to have in the game. It's not really much of an alien that gets to do a lot. It doesn't really have any elements to its alien power that makes it more likely for these things to happen. So it could have just as easily have been some kind of a hazard, or like a moon effect, or some other effect in the game, a technology maybe. But I do like this effect. What's interesting is that after the base game, in a number of the expansions, you got aliens that had other ways to make deals. So in another video where I'm talking about aliens that have unique tokens, not cosmic tokens, but their own special alien tokens, usually it has an image of the alien on the token itself. You have aliens like the Fire Dancer that can make deals to put a fire in somebody's system, and they can get something in return. That's a deal. And if that's a successful deal, I think Tic-Toc has to remove a token. So it's interesting to have Tic-Toc in a game like that, where you have aliens like Fire Dancer or Surgeon that can create deal situations outside of a normal deal. Yeah, that's interesting. So the other base set alien that uses them is Warrior. So Warrior gets experience points. They're going to add a token to the sheet whenever they win an encounter as a main player or make a deal, and they're going to add 2 tokens if they lose an encounter or fail to make a deal. So they actually get more powerful by losing, and then they're going to add the number of their tokens on their sheet to their total as a main player. The adding of the tokens cannot be cosmic zapped, but adding of the tokens to the sheet. Adding the tokens to your total can be cosmic zapped. So Warrior, it's a game that does better in the longer the game goes on. Maybe better in a lower player count, since they're going to be a main player more often. I did a 3-player game. Don't ask me why. Recently, and Warrior was in it, and Warrior did win the game. It was very difficult after a while to get around. They're adding 7, 8, 9 to the encounters. All right, on to the expansions now. So Cosmic Incursion has one alien that uses cosmic tokens. It is Fury. So what happens is each time one or more of your ships is lost to the warp or removed from the game, uses power to place 1 token on the sheet for each ship you lost. And then as a main player or ally, after encounter cards are selected, but before they are revealed, you can discard any number of tokens from the sheet to add or subtract 3 from your side's total for each token that you discard. So you're doing it before you really know how much you're going to need to win by. It also lets you affect things like loser and antimatter, which has kind of been the trend with certain aliens post Fantasy Flight. Because before Fantasy Flight Edition, there weren't that many aliens that were looking to lose or to have a lower count, and those aliens were added later in their edition, so you didn't really have a lot of effects that could do that. But Fury is one of the ones in the new batch of aliens that can go low when it needs to, Most of the time you're going high. But that can be pretty powerful. You lose a couple of encounters as Fury. You can soften the blow by getting those tokens. The cosmic tokens are going to add 3. So if you've got a bunch of them on your sheet later in the game, yeah, you can afford to spend a bunch of them just to get a nice boost before you even know that you need it. Now on to Cosmic Conflict. The second expansion has one alien, and it's Trickster. So the way Trickster works is, as a main player, after alliances are formed, you may use this power to manipulate probability. And what happens is you're going to take a cosmic token and you can seal it secretly in one of your hands. It does assume that you have 2 hands, so this is a 2-handed alien. The other main player chooses one of your closed fists, and then you open it. If you reveal the one with the token, like they've guessed which where the token is, then they win the encounter, and if they don't guess the right hand, then you win the encounter. So it's 50-50. If you don't have an impressive hand of cards, you know that you can fall back on the Trickster effect, and maybe that will do the trick for you. Or you're facing an alien that is very hard to beat. So this supersedes the normal encounter outcomes because you're doing this in the alliance phase. So, and for me, I actually have a custom Trickster token that I had made. It's got Trickster's little face on it, so you just use that. You don't really need it. Again, you could use anything. Put a quarter in your hand, put a ship in there. It doesn't matter. But they say use a cosmic token, and they included plenty of them so that you can do that. All right. Cosmic Alliance has a couple of aliens that employ cosmic tokens. The first one is Chrysalis. And again, this is a countdown. So you're going to place 8 tokens on the sheet. And at the start of any encounter, use this power to discard 1 token from the sheet. When there are no tokens left, you're going to look at the top 10 flares from the flare deck. Choose one of them corresponding to an alien that doesn't have game set up. And you're going to become that alien, and you'll have its super flare in your hand at that point. So I really like Chrysalis. I think this is a fun alien. It's a meta alien. So you're going to get to choose from 10 possible aliens that might give you an edge against the other aliens in a given game. But for the first 10 encounters, you've got no alien power. You're not doing anything. And, of course, somebody can zap you to keep you from moving a token, but usually don't waste it for stuff like that. They're going to be saving up to see who exactly you choose. So this is an alien that does better the longer the game goes on. So that's you want to get in there with Warrior. Try to team up. The other alien from Cosmic Alien, actually Cosmic Alliance, there's a couple. They have Lightning. So this one is also keeping track of stuff. So each time any other player takes a second encounter during their turn, you're going to add a token to the sheet. And after the end of any encounter, even your own, you may discard 3 tokens from the sheet to immediately have an encounter. So this lets you get extra encounters. Again, the longer the game goes on, the more of these you're going to accumulate. Alternately, at the start of a player's second encounter, you may discard 2 tokens to immediately end the encounter. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility. This is a pretty interesting alien. I prefer Lightning if I'm in a game that has multiple aliens. Its effect on its own doesn't really do it for me as much because it's not really helping you to win encounters. It's just giving you some more. So it's kind of a mini machine effect. But yeah, you can at least wait to spend some of those tokens when you know you've got a hand that has a good chance of winning some encounters. So again, the longer the game goes on, the more useful something like that's going to be. The last one from Cosmic Alliance is Sapient. And Sapient is very much like Warrior, except as an ally. So Power of Wisdom, each time you win an encounter as an ally, put 1 token on the sheet. And each time you lose an encounter as an ally, you're going to place a number of tokens equal to the number of your ships involved in the encounter. So that's one difference from Warrior. Still only going to get 1 token for winning, but by losing, it encourages you to actually send more than 1 ship into the encounter so that if you do lose, you're going to get more points. And that's actually going to make you a more attractive ally later on in the game. So as an ally, after main players reveal attack cards during the encounter, use this power to add 1 to your side's total for each token on the sheet. And Sapient, just like Warrior, when you're adding those the number of those tokens. You're not spending the tokens, so those don't go away. You're going to keep those, and yeah, eventually, the longer the game goes on, the more powerful you become. All right, on to Cosmic Storm. So Cosmic Storm has an alien called Sycophant, similar to TikTok. Going to place 10 tokens on the sheet. You have the power Flattery. If you are not a main player, after alliances are formed, you may use this power to flatter one of the main players, even if you are allied against them. If the player that you flatter wins the encounter or makes a deal, discard 1 token from this sheet. And if there are no more tokens on the sheet, you win the game. So it's similar to TikTok. This is not a very interesting alien in light of the existence of TikTok. Maybe Sycophant might have been more interesting than TikTok. If this had come out before, we wouldn't need TikTok. But I have an alternate timeline version of Sycophant that I use in Tabletop Simulator. Makes it a little more interesting. It has a little more going on. Very similar. I tried to keep it as close to the original as I could, but this Sycophant doesn't do a lot for me. So let's go on to one from Cosmic Storm that I do like. And this is Tide. So the way the Tide works is they're going to start with 2 cosmic tokens on the sheet. And after they win an encounter as a main player, they're going to add a token to the sheet. And then Tide and each of their allies are going to draw 1 card from the deck for each token on the sheet. Now, when Tide loses an encounter as a main player, if there is more than 1 token on the sheet, they're going to discard 1, and then the opposing main player and each of their allies has to discard a card of their choice from their hands for each token on the sheet. So the longer that Tide can keep winning, the more powerful it can become. The more tokens it's going to accumulate, the more cards it's going to draw. At a certain point, it's not really going to need allies as much because it's keep drawing these cards. Now, these are cards from the deck, so the reward deck is off limits, but you're more likely to pick up some artifacts and flares, higher attack cards overall, and some reinforcements as well in the Cosmic deck. So Tide is a pretty good alien, even if you lose a couple of times. You never go below 1 token. And while your opponent's getting to discard cards of their choice, a lot of that time they're going to be able to get rid of cards they don't want. But every once in a while, it is going to sting, or they're like, oh, I got to get rid of 3 cards, and these are all good, or there goes my last encounter card. So I think on the whole, a Tide is a good alien. All right, now we're into Cosmic Eons. Cosmic Eons has an alien called AI. This is an interesting alien. At the start of every player's turn, you're going to add a token to the sheet. So not every encounter, but each player's turn. Now, as a main player, before allies are invited, you can use this power to look at a number of hidden elements up to the number of tokens on this sheet. So hidden elements that you can inspect are cards in players' hands, cards on the tops of decks, sets of essence cards, hidden alien powers, face-down cards hidden by players, for example, in the Miser's Hoard or an Essence Cache. And the tokens accumulate, they're not spent. So like a lot of these aliens that use tokens, the longer the game goes on, the more powerful they become. So if you're the kind of person that can keep track of stuff in your head pretty well, AI is going to be a great alien. It gives you more flexibility than mind, because there's other stuff that you can look at. And depending on the mix of the other aliens in the game, it can be very effective. A lot of times, though, you're just going to be looking at cards in a player's hand just to get a sense of like, all right, you've got 6 cards. I'm looking at 3 of them. Ooh, I know that you've got the attack 23. So that can be useful. But yeah, not until the game has gone on for a while. Another alien from Cosmic Eons that is a little bit more powerful is Multitude. Now you can see that Multitude has these little numbers along the side, and that is where you're going to put the cosmic token that you are using. So whenever there are no cosmic tokens on the sheet, place 1 on the times X exponential growth factor. That's the first one right here. Now, whenever your color as Multitude or any special destiny is drawn from the Destiny deck, use this power to double your exponential growth factor by moving the token from the ×1 to the ×2 or the ×2 to the ×4. As you can see that this doubles 1 to 2, 4, 8, 16, 20, I'm sorry, 32. That's going to say, wait a minute. Now, whenever a wild destiny is drawn from the deck, you're going to go back to the ×1. And the way this works is, as a main player or ally, the value of each of your ships participating in the encounter is multiplied by your exponential growth factor when counting towards totals in the encounter. So again, you're starting off, you're normal. Each of your ships is worth 1. But then, when your color comes up or a special destiny is drawn, now each of your ships is worth 2, or each of your ships is worth 4. I've been in one game where each of them got to 32. It was bananas. It was absolutely bananas. And the more players that are in the game, the better it is for multitude, because the number of wild destiny, there's only 2 wild destiny cards in the deck, and there's 3 special destiny and 3 of your own color. It's those 2 wilds that you got to watch out for. So the more players that are in the deck, the more spread out those wild cards are likely to be. When we were actually designing this, I wanted to advocate for having it be triggered by, hazard warnings on cards, because that scales. If there's 4 players in the game, you're going to have 4 of the hazard warnings. You can ignore your own. But I got overruled by the original designers. So multitude wants to be an alien in a game with a lot of players, because if there's only a few players, the wilds are going to come up more often. You're not going to get a chance to move that token to the ×8, 16, or 32. So then we are on to Cosmic Odyssey. So the 7th expansion has 3 aliens that use tokens. Our first one is Hertz. So Hertz is an alien that is going to lease its own ships to other players. So either before or after encounter cards are revealed in an encounter, but not both. You can use this power to make an offer to lease your ships to each player in the encounter. Each player. For each player that agrees, you're going to take a number of your ships from any of your colonies not involved in the encounter, and up to the number of ships that player has in the encounter, and you're going to put one of your ships under each of theirs that they lease. And those ships are going to count as 2 ships in the encounter for totals as well as for rewards, but not for compensation. And then they have those ships until you cancel a lease, and that's what the tokens are going to be used for. So anytime that they make a lease with you, you're going to get a token to put on your sheet. And if they make that lease after the encounter cards are revealed in the encounter, you actually put 2 tokens on the sheet. So once per encounter, at any time, you may discard a token from the sheet to either cancel the lease of all the ships from one player, or to double the number of rewards you gain as a successful defensive ally. And it does specify, this is the only time you can double it, is when you're a defensive ally. So if you have some other game effect that gives you rewards, you can't use the tokens to double those. But you get into an encounter as a defensive ally, you've got 3 of your ships in there, you're getting 6 rewards. So Hertz can be pretty effective. It's one of those aliens that technically players can ignore, but I think it works really well, and it hardly ever does get ignored, because people like the idea of getting a few extra ships, especially if they're getting 3 or 4 ships. That's +6, +8 to an encounter. And if they're doing it when they're a defensive ally as well, they're getting a lot more rewards for it. So there's a lot of incentive to do it. And the rewards that Hertz gets, it's not easy for them to get them. We're going to get to another alien here in just a second that has a much easier time spending those tokens that they're getting for rewards. So let's take a look at it now. It is Lloyd. Now, Lloyd was originally a lucre alien in the Eon and Mayfair days, and lucre was the economic variant to Cosmic Encounter. We made the Fantasy Flight version of Lloyd not economic. It's just using cosmic tokens. So here's how it works. You have the power to insure at any time. You may use this power to offer to insure any or all of the following assets of another player until the end of the encounter: alien powers before they're used, ships before they're lost or captured, and specifically named cards before they are played, discarded, or taken. Insured cards must be named explicitly, for example, the Attack 30 or Cosmic Zap. If your offer is accepted, you place a token on this sheet. Insured alien powers cannot be lost or canceled. Insured ships return to their colonies instead of being lost or captured. Insured cards cannot be forcibly discarded, taken, or collected as compensation. An insured card cannot be played more than once in the encounter. And then at any time, you can spend tokens to gain rewards. And rewards, those are ships, your ships out of the warp, cards from the deck, and if you have the reward deck, cards from the reward deck. So Lloyd is extremely powerful. It's, again, another alien that you could technically ignore, but players, it's hard to fight the temptation. If you're like, I've got the attack 40, and will you insure the attack 40? And Lloyd, it's hard for Lloyd to resist getting those cosmic tokens so they can cash them in for rewards whenever they want. So that's a really powerful alien. And the last one that we have is the alternate version of Sadist. So the normal Sadist that came in an earlier expansion didn't need to use cosmic tokens, but this version does. So power of cruelty. When another player has at least 8 ships in the warp captured and or out of the game, place a token under that player's colony marker. We actually place it on top of it because putting it under is just kind of weird. At the end of the resolution phase, if all players have a token on or under their colony marker, use this power to win the game. So Sadist is waiting for people to have lost a number of ships, and then they're getting tagged. And at that point, they can get all their ships out of the warp, but they don't lose that cosmic token that has marked them. And the original Sadist, you could play a Mobius tubes at some point before everybody's got 8 of their ships in the warp, and then everyone is safe for quite a while, maybe for the whole rest of the game. So this one is a little easier to do, and it has a second part to it. So as a main player ally, after your side wins the encounter, if any players on the other side would lose fewer than 3 ships to the warp, use this power to force each of those players to lose 1 additional ship. So it has a little extra, something going on to help get the players to that total of 8 ships in the warp, or otherwise captured or lost in whatever way. So those are your aliens that use cosmic tokens. I think it's a great addition. I really enjoyed when Kevin introduced that concept, and there were only a couple of aliens in the base game that needed them, but I think he knew instinctively that there were going to be other aliens that were going to take advantage of that. So let me know, what are your favorite aliens that use cosmic tokens? Are there other aliens that you think should have used them? Are there some of these aliens that you're like, why? Why bother with it? Doesn't really matter. I think it's fine personally. One of the things that I didn't think about working as a designer in the last few expansions was specifically trying to come up with aliens that take advantage of cosmic tokens. It's an interesting thought exercise. So if you have some homebrews that use cosmic tokens, share them. We certainly want to hear, and let us know what you think. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.